Okay. Good evening, board members and residents. I'd like to call to order our regular board meeting for Monday, April 27th, 2026. And I would ask that at this time, everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Batkins. Here. Mr. Brado. Here. Ms. Brown is asked to be excused. Mr. Olgiati. Here. Mr. Tominello. Here. Mr. Witt. Here. Mr. Verkest.
Here. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, including approval of the regular board meeting minutes of April 13th, 2026, approval of the bills in the amount of $1,745,038.78, approval of the March 2026 revenue and expenditure report, the first quarter of 2026 treasurer's report for investments, and the 2026 dust control brine program. Unless there are any revisions, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Is there support? Support. Okay, we've got a motion by Mr. Badkins with support by Mr. Olgiati. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next is the approval of the regular agenda. Board members, we did receive a request from the clerk to add an agenda item regarding a bond resolution. I would suggest that we add the discussion regarding the bond resolution as item D12. Maybe just a simple explanation. We're talking about a number of projects here. Point Rosa repaving, the Elm Lane seawall issue. Those are projects that are going to require us to bond or basically go out and borrow money. And the law says you can't spend money and then later bond for the money to pay for that. And for example, as a project like the Point Rosa, the county sometimes asks us to give them money up front. So in essence, what this resolution says is that we are considering a number of projects that we might bond for, and so it's kind of like noticing everybody. It's a part of the minutes and so forth. So with that explanation, I'd be looking for, unless there's another issue, I'd be looking for an approval of the regular agenda with the addition of item D12, bond resolution.
I'll make that motion. Support.
Got a motion by Mr. Tominello, with support by Mr. Brado. Discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, next is announcements. So I do have some announcements, but I also see a number of folks that are present in the audience, a larger crowd than we might normally see. And oftentimes it's specific to one issue or one agenda item. And so for those who don't regularly attend our meetings, we open the floor for public comment on any agenda item that we actually make a motion. So for example, item D4 is the Malice Street Special Assessment District Resolution Number 1. So if you happen to be here and you wish to speak to that item, whether you're for it, whether you're against it, whatever it might be. The podium is where we make public comments, and if you see right along the railing where the treasurer is, there are two chairs there. Those are kind of like our on-deck chairs, if you think. So imagine that you're at home plate speaking. The next batter up would be the person on deck. So if there's a number of people here and they want to speak on item D5, we invite you to utilize those chairs so that way we can get through everybody's public comment and give them an opportunity to speak, and you don't have to be here until the wee hours of the morning, and can get home and enjoy the rest of your evening. So, other announcements. Thank you to everyone who showed up to help clean up Harrison Township on April 18th. The next Harrison Township Beautification Commission event is the Container Gardening Make and Take event. That's going to be Saturday, May 16th from 10 a.m. until noon. This is an adults-only event, and it will be held at the Tucker Senior Center, 26980 Ballard Road. You must pre-register for this event, and the event is limited to 50 participants. This is an event where you show up, they're going to provide everything you need to create your own container garden that you can take home with you. Some more details are on the website, so we encourage you to see our website for details and to register. Compost and yard waste pickup has officially begun. Please make sure that you are following the compost guidelines, which can be found on the township website, or by contacting the supervisor's office, 586-466-1445. Twigs and branches must be bundled, and the bundles must not weigh more than 40 pounds each. Please make sure all items are in a brown bag or a container labeled compost. Compost will not be collected if it is placed in plastic bags. Miller Park, 34890 Jefferson, is officially open for the season. Everyone can access the park from dawn to dusk at no charge. If you wish to rent the pavilion at the park for your private event, please contact the supervisor's office, and you can find the contract and all the details on the township website. For information on these, as well as all other township events, you can call the supervisor's office, 586-466-1445, or visit our website, harrisontownshipmi.gov. Are there any other announcements? Hearing none, we'll move forward on the agenda to item D1. Mr. Witt?
Yes, before us tonight, Board, we are looking at opening and holding our public hearing number 1 for the Point Rosa Street Special Assessment District. This is a road repaving for that street. The purpose of the public hearing is to hear objections, to hear opinions on the project, for and against the project. One thing that I will mention is for the residents that are here to speak on the public hearing, when you do come to the podium, please say your name and address clearly. When you're speaking in a public hearing, this is your opportunity to preserve your legal rights down the road. So if I don't get your name and address right, then you won't be reflected in the minutes properly, and it could impact your legal abilities there. So we just want to make sure that we get it properly. So as long as you say it, even if I miss it here, we'll get it in the audio on the other side. So just make sure you do it. And then we do ask that we try and keep our public comment to 3 minutes as best you can.
So the first step in the process is to open the public hearing, so I'd be looking for a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support?
Support.
I got a support by Mr. Olgiati. So motion by Mr. Badkin, support by Mr. Olgiati to open the public hearing number 1. Discussion, board members. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, that requires a roll call?
Yes, sir. Mr. Backens?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Brown is excused. Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkest?
Yes. All right, at this time, the public hearing regarding the Point Rosa Road Improvement Project is open. Anybody who is present who wishes to speak for or against, ask questions, whatever it might be regarding that project, we'd invite you up to the podium. So now is the time for public comment on Point Rosa. And if, again, as I mentioned earlier, if somebody is here in the audience and they intend to also speak, we encourage you to use the on-deck chairs and take a shot at that too.
We ready? All right. My name is Josh Hall, 37911 Point Rosa. Just wanted to get my name on the record in, I guess, objection to the proposed project. It's not so much of the actual paving of the road as it is a cost factor. Give you a quick background, I'm a concrete professional, 14 years experience. I just find that the price tag on this project is extremely overpriced. I called and got quotes from 2 different asphalt paving companies, both union. Those numbers came in at $70,000 apiece. Now, it was only for a mill and 2-inch asphalt placement, so obviously if you would double it, you're in about the $140,000 range. Far cry from the $430,000 that's being proposed today. The assessment district, I feel like we did leave out a parcel, the parcel at the end of Point Rosa. Probably should have been added in. That would be parcel number 122479-001 as well, which would bring that up to 34. Then I feel like the petition should get passed around again to see if 50% of the vote still holds true. And I'm also concerned with the seawall area, the seawall special assessment that is being addressed today as well. Between both of those 2 assessments hitting at the same time, that's going to put half of the street over $4,000 additional a year of unforeseen expenses. I feel like that's going to lower our property values. It's going to be tough to find resellers to purchase the home due to $850 a month, excuse me, $10,000 a year tax bill. So just wanted to get my objections on the record. If anyone wants copies of the proposals that I have, I'm more than willing to provide it to anyone.
Okay, thank you.
Alex D'Angelo, 37926 Point Rosa Street. Wanted to voice my opinion against this. I think, again, the cost is way too much. If we all agreed to do what Malist is doing, which is giving them a cost of $1,200 per house, that seems reasonable. For the cost of $13,000 per house, which blows my mind, the fact that we assess it at $13,000 a house and saying that the county's covering half. So you're telling me that my 80 feet of road split between my neighbor across the street costs $52,000 for 4 inches of asphalt doesn't add up. Those numbers don't make sense. Either somebody's padding their pocket or the money's going somewhere, but the money doesn't make sense. So if we could agree to change the proposal to the one that Malist is doing, that would make sense to me. That's all I got.
Jennifer Prycookie, 37912 Point Rosa Street. I am also an objection to the repaving of the road for the same reasons as already stated. The amount seems very unreasonable, and if we could do it privately, independently, we would be able to save our residents a lot of money and headache. I am also concerned about how long the project is going to take. We're all boaters, and our street is already narrow enough, and with all the construction on the street, we can't even pass by with a single car as it is, and then we're going to have, I don't know how long it's going to be tore up for, but the whole project seems astronomical.
Nathan Hauser, 37971 Point Rosa Street. I did sign the petition originally for the paving because I'd love to have the road paved, but it sounds like we're just paying too much, and after looking at the numbers, I would like to object as well.
Cook, 37984 Point Rosa. I just am objecting for the same reasons. I think it's far too much money. I feel like we could get it cheaper, and I agree with what she said. We're all boaters, and our street is really narrow as it is. So to have to deal with that all summer, I don't think it's a good idea, so my vote is no, I object.
William Opatich, 38001 Point Rosa. I am in opposition to the paving of the street. It's too much expense with the added expense of the other SAD.
Good evening. David Trevino, 37970 Point Rosa. I'm all for having a road paved, but apparently I'm unaware of how much money's being involved. But I'm hearing from people that are against it that the cost could be a lot lower. Who came up with the cost to begin with? On which side of the table came up with these numbers? An answer?
So this is not a back and forth discussion, it's public comment, so try to do our best.
All right, I hear you.
Yep.
For the record, I'm for it, but I want to see figures that are in line for everybody that's on the street to make sure it's okay for us all. So, that's my comment.
Thank you.
I would like to hear answers from you, though. I hear your point.
Yeah,
For the public.
yeah, I will.
You should answer to us on anything.
100%, will do so, sir.
I'm Kara Willershausen, 37925 Point Rosa. I oppose the paving. The price is too costly, and my taxes are going to skyrocket with this, and along with the Elm Lane seawall issue. So I oppose.
Robert Hopper, 37941 Point Rosa, Settler Properties, and against, obviously for the same reason, something's not quite right with the pricing on this. The road does need to be paved, obviously, it's destroyed, but the numbers just don't add up.
Same thing. 37930 Point Rosa, same thing, it's too high. Other than that. Oh, Mark Taylor.
Go back up to the microphone, sir, if you we want to make sure it's recorded. Yep.
Mark Taylor, 37930 Point Rosa.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any other public comment?
Yeah, Craig William Bardell, 37865 Point Rosa, Harrison Township, USA 1. Yeah, the road's trashed. I've been here 30 years. We just want to have a nice road. We live here. I mean, this is actually where we live. So, we got people pushing baby buggies, busting their ankle. We got kids driving little motor scooters, falling out into these big holes. Like, we're a township. This is what the story is. I've been coming out here 20 years. I've been here 30 years, and we're a township. We don't get the funding. I understand. I'm getting an education in this. So we don't get the money that the big cities do. So basically, the road's trashed. We need a road. And this is actually where we actually live. So I like to have a road. I mean, because we live here, and I think it would be a good thing. Back 30, 40 years ago, when I used to jump on my bicycle and take off, peel out, as you would say, I can't do that on my street. So you jump out, get on your bike, and you bolt down the street, and there's like 100 potholes all over the place. So, I mean, I'm not seeing the romance in the potholes. So, we're just trying to get something done. We'd like to, like I said, this is where we live, and we would just like to get something done, and we would like to get it fixed up, and, we'd like to see the improvement. So thank you so much for listening, and thank you for all your hard work, Jim and everybody, and thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Any other public comment? Yeah, so there's either public comment, there's folks that listen at home, sir, I'm just trying to be respectful of everybody.
I've lived on the street, David Trevino, back to that again. I've lived on this street for 18 years. And absolutely right, the road is trashed. I am wanting to know and why you don't answer back on questions that we want to know about.
So I will, sir. The problem is that, it's important to understand, we're here holding a public meeting. It's open to the public because people should be able to observe local government and frankly, every level of government at work. But At no level of government do we engage in a discussion during a public meeting. Tomorrow, yesterday, the next day, you can come to my office, I'll give you my cell phone, I'll come to your home on a Saturday afternoon, and we can engage in a conversation. But today, and right now, starting at 7 o'clock, we're engaged in a public meeting, and it's not a discussion. You have the opportunity to comment. Once we close the floor for public comment, I'll do my best to answer the questions and give you information. If I'm not mistaken, there's 2 agenda items for this,
Yeah, this and the next.
right? So we're going to talk about this 2 more times, and 2 more times I'm going to open the floor for public comment. And if you don't like what I tell you once this is closed, you can come back up and say, well, I've got a follow-up question. But the time for a back and forth discussion isn't at a public hearing. The time for that is before or after any time of the day or afternoon or evening. But history tells us that when we engage in a back and forth, it typically deteriorates.
Turns into an
People
argument.
start shouting.
Turns into an argument. I
Correct.
know.
So
I've been the president of organizations, I've done this 100 times.
There you go.
But I always open the floor for comments, and I always will answer questions that are put on the floor.
Yep.
The way you're handling this, I got your point.
Yep.
I don't agree with it.
I respect that.
We'll deal with it.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Just, if there is no other public comment, I'd entertain a motion to close the floor for public comment.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. There's support.
Support.
We've got a motion by Mr. Badkins with support by Mr. Tominello to close the floor for public comment. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Brown is asked to be excused. Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkest?
Yes. I'm going to start by saying, I challenge you to find any community in Macomb County, less southeastern Michigan, that has a more liberal public comment policy than Harrison Township. We're not trying to discourage anybody. And I'm going to do my best to address some of these questions, and I believe I have some valuable answers that may be meaningful to some of you. But I respect that you might handle it different. This is the result of doing this for definitely several years. First of all, this isn't our first SAD. I don't know, this is my 16th year as supervisor. I'm sure it's at least in the dozens. And oftentimes when we discuss an SAD, the folks that come to the meeting are more often than not those that are opposed. Or at least those that come to the podium are the ones that are opposed. If there's someone here and they're supportive of it, sometimes they just don't want to go up and, argue with their neighbors. Someone said the price tag is high. So let's talk about the price tag. Everybody has a number. How do we determine that number? I think it was a question that came up later. Let's go back to how SADs begin. SADs begin, it's a grassroots effort. This isn't Harrison Township randomly going to Point Rosa saying, you guys need to repave your road, and here's how you have to do it. This is the result of residents of Point Rosa coming to us saying, why is our road so bad? Why don't you guys fix it? And it's like Groundhog Day for us. We're not in charge of your roads. It's a local road. Public Act 51, which dates back to 1951, even though it's been amended, has language in it, and Macomb County interprets that language to say that if you live on a local road, I live on a local road, you live on a local road. The majority of homes in Harrison Township are on a local road. If you live on a local road, the county cannot rebuild that road they can't spend more than 50%. More than half is what Public Act 51 says. So the county says, if you want to do it, we're going to put out a grant program. They've been doing that for, I feel like 19 or 20 is when we first applied for one of these. So they've been doing it for the last 6-7 years. You need to pay for half. Harrison Township is the only municipality in Macomb County that doesn't levy a general fund millage. We have a fire millage, we have a police millage. So this board doesn't collect any property tax from you that I could use or we could vote on to use to pay for your share of that road. So therefore, if we want to participate in the county's grant program where they pay half, we have to do a special assessment. So folks come to us, we explain that to them. time and time again, you've got a resident, maybe a couple residents on your street that are really motivated to fix the road. So they say, all right, we want to do it. We'll hold an informal meeting. Sure. They say, give us petitions. We pay the township engineering firm thousands of dollars. They do a cost estimate. MDOT keeps track of like the cost of asphalt, every project, everything that comes up, this gravel, this mobilization. They collect those, they put them online. So they use standardized numbers and they calculate what they think the cost could be. The county says if you want to apply for this project, it has to involve, quote, substantial drainage improvements. So it isn't a skin, it should involve not only rebuilding of the road, but it should involve improvements to the drainage. So the engineer goes out, kind of takes a look and says, I think it's about this much kind of a project. The law says that if we tell you a cost for a special assessment, we can't create a petition. Adam's office creates the petition that one of your neighbors circulated. We can't say, it's gonna cost you 10 grand and come back and say it's gonna be 15. Well, that's insane. We can say it's gonna cost you 15 and come back and come in at 10, but we are encouraged by state law to figure high. The engineer gives us our estimate, we add a contingency, I can't tell you what the contingency was on.
10%, I believe.
10%. And we give you that number, because we want to be artificially high. We have not missed that number any year except for one, when there was a weird petroleum thing, and there were several paving projects, asphalt shot through the roof. 1 year, there were just projects that just weren't done because the prices went nuts based on inflation. So we give that number, put that out front. That's our guess, conservatively high. The actual amount of the assessment will be based on whatever the bid is. So what the county does is they're doing right now, they're in the bid process. The bids went out April 13th or 14th. I tried to look, but you get the idea. You get a few weeks for large companies to look at this. There's one road in Harrison Township. I can't tell you exactly, but typically Macomb Township, Shelby Township, sometimes Clinton Township, Chesterfield Township, you can apply for and be granted up to 3 roads. So we're probably, typically we're talking about a dozen local roads that are packaged together and bid. The companies that bid on these are usually larger companies, larger repaving companies, because they're clustered together. And they do this as a, across-the-board summer program. They might start in Harrison Township, they might start in Clinton Township, wherever it is. Whatever they bid competitively, whatever the county gets, that's what the true cost is. There could be things they encounter, maybe they dig up a culvert and realize that it's more rotten than it was, and so these are unit price projects. If there's a cost for a culvert, they can't say, well, this culvert costs 3 times as much as what we bid. Everything is a unit price. A ton of this costs this much. If you increase it a ton or you lower it a ton, the contractor can't alter that cost. So when we talk about the price tag being high, I 100% agree. I'll add that I've lived in my home for 36 years, my wife and I, and in 2024, we did the same program. So if there was a secret bucket of money or a better way to do it, I'd like to think I would have done it on my own road. So I went through the process of collecting signatures on my road, much like some of your neighbors did on your road, because I believe this is the best way to repair your road. Someone had said, I'd like to change it to Malist. So the county had historically only had one local road repaving program going back, as I said, about 6 or 7 years. And that was, you've got to do substantial drainage improvements. And that drainage cost typically, in a large way, exceeds the cost associated with just milling and laying down asphalt. So there's unit prices. Someone's going to get this bid. We can actually look at that bid and say, this is what they're going to pay for the asphalt. But they're going to look and say, this is what's involved with the actual drainage improvements. I hopefully don't say this in a way to scare or influence one way or another, but on a pretty regular basis, I'm getting calls from folks on Terramar because the drainage system that runs parallel to the road, but just off of the road, so kind of in that front area of your yard, is collapsing. And if we think of how long ago the drainage was installed on your street, you know, it's mostly corrugated metal pipe. You know, depending on soil conditions, it eventually rots and it starts to collapse. And once that happens, you have no drainage. So what Malist is doing is putting down a skin, and that's cool, and it's a low-cost program. It's a newer program, but the life is maybe 10 years. And what's being proposed on your road is something that we expect to last substantially longer, because it is that water accumulation in the freeze-thaw cycle combined with the crown on the road that typically causes that asphalt to deteriorate. So, and I tried to look when someone brought up, I'd like to change it to Malist. I'd bet you a buck that there's an email in here somewhere where when that program came out, we said, maybe you guys want to consider just the mill and overlay. And at the time, the people that were involved in this, your neighbors, not us, said, no, we'd rather apply for and have petitions for the full rebuild and do it right and get the duration or the longevity out of that. Because SADs are local control, this isn't us saying you need to do it. This is us saying get enough petitions and we'll apply for it. We'll get the engineering. I mean, this is our job. I'm not complaining, but it's extra work for us. It's way easier if nobody does an SAD. That's less work for us. But if that's what the majority of the people on your street want, then that's what we do. When we talked to that resident at that time, they said, nope, we'd rather go in this direction. We created those petitions, or actually Mr. Witt's office did. They circulated and they came back with a majority. So who came up with the costs? I think I explained that already. We hire an engineering firm, pay them a few $1,000s. We find out we get the grant, which usually happens late in the year. Now we've already paid that engineering firm, I don't know, probably somewhere around 30, 40, 50 grand to actually go out, put cameras in every culvert, figure out what actually needs to be done. Hey, there's drawings that say we're going to replace the culvert in front of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Point Rosa. We're only going to do this work in front of this house. It's all been engineered. Someone mentioned the taxes will skyrocket. This doesn't change the taxable value of your home. Clearly, if you decide to apply this and pay it over a 10-year period, then obviously you're kind of financing that. We do bond for these. We borrow money. We can borrow the money cheaper than you could go and get a home equity loan or a mortgage. But it doesn't change your taxable value. In other words, if you were in a position to pay this in a lump sum, your taxes aren't going up. But I understand that obviously if you add them to your taxes. And again, my final note was, I did this to my own road, with good success. There was a section of the road, they went down 16 inches. As they were digging it up, the base was poor. It added to the overall cost of the project, but we still came in within that target. But it's folks from the county that do this, that have standards, that oversee this on your behalf, and make sure that the project is done properly. So those were the answers as I wrote down questions. As I mentioned, we're going to open up the floor 2 more times because we have 2 more resolutions on the agenda. So there'll be 2 more opportunities for you to come up and say, wait a minute, Ken, I asked this question, you didn't answer it, or whatever that might be, and we'll do our best to answer those questions at that time. Any other board comment?
Just so the board knows, there was one written notice from Mr. CUNY at 37895 Point Rosa that was submitted in time, so that is included in the minutes for the public hearing as well.
And that was a notice of support or
against the
opposition. Okay, all right, good. Okay, so let's see. Next on the agenda is item D2 from the clerk's office.
Yes, next on our agenda here, also related to the Point Rosa project, is special resolution number 3, which directs my office to prepare the roll, or more simply put, the list of who will pay and how much they will pay. When we do roads like this, we do split the cost evenly across the lots. That's our historical process for doing this. But ultimately, the final cost that is assessed is based on actual construction, as the supervisor had mentioned. Obviously, the current estimated cost is $441,424, worth $13,376.48 per lot. And so before us, again, we have resolution number 3, which directs my office to prepare that roll and have it available for review.
Okay. So in a moment, I'm going to ask for a motion in a second. I do recall that in my haste, there was someone who approached the podium and said, I think lot number such and such shouldn't be involved. And I did my best as I was listening in to try to look it up, and I couldn't identify it.
If I'm guessing, it's the lot that is at the front of the road.
Well, and it's,
No, but I know it's because it was brought up during the meeting. This is an undeveloped lot that has access on any of 3 roads currently, but there is no house built, and traditionally, we don't levy if there isn't a driveway out to it.
if it were, hang on, would you be a chance? If I were to drive 6 houses down on Point Rosa and encounter a vacant lot, it's clear that that vacant lot must have access to Point Rosa. The only place the driveway is going to show up is on Point Rosa. But I find it somewhat ironic because while we're talking about repaving Point Rosa and an SAD, we're talking about Elm Lane in a future agenda item, and the impact that has. And this is one of those scenarios where how do you take that vacant lot, when someone develops that property, if they do, it's obvious it's been undeveloped for decades. When I was a little kid, it was vacant. They could put their driveway on Elm Lane, and it would be an Elm Lane thing. They could put their driveway on Point Rosa. And so when we make a decision to include a parcel that is questionable, sometimes it leads to, the potential for legal proceedings that delay the process. So based on that, I think it doesn't mean you can't come up and ask, but I didn't get the parcel number, and I was trying to look on parcels information, so. Okay, so we have an agenda item introduced by the clerk, item D2, resolution number 3. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 3?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Mr. Brado, is there support?
Support.
Okay, Mr. Tominello. All right, we've got a motion with support to adopt resolution number 3, which directs the clerk to prepare the roll. And this is a resolution that will require a roll call vote. But before we do that, we accept public comment. Typically, when I'm on an agenda item and there's really nobody here, I don't worry. There's nobody on deck chairs, but my instinct is that there are people here who would like to speak further on this. So if you do wish to speak about the Point Rosa repaving project, you have the opportunity now before we take a vote. Yeah, sure. Yep.
Joshua Hull, 37911 Point Rosa. Wanted to refer back to the parcel number that was in question in the discussion, just so it's on record again. It is 12-20-479-001.
Okay.
I do understand it's a vacant lot right now. It is my understanding that proposed construction plans have been filed with the office with the driveway utilizing Point Rosa. That parcel is also part of Point Rosa plat. Therefore, I do not believe they have access to utilize Elm Lane that is a private lane, private drive. They are not part of the Fresh Air Park. So I think their only options would be either Jefferson, and I don't know if anyone's driven by there, but seeing how those roads come to a point, putting a driveway there is not feasible. Their only option is Point Rosa. And then I also wanted to address 2 other issues, items that were spoken about. I think everyone on the street would be on board if we could table the current proposal the way it is and put up the reskinning, just the mill and asphalt, I think we could easily get 60-70% approval to pass through right away. Whether it be, it may not be the $1,200 cost that Malest is, but if 3/4 of it's getting covered, that's only $4,800 for each resident. And I think that is more than feasible to all the residents, right? As far as I'm concerned, I'd be willing to pass that petition around myself. And then I wanted to address, Mr. Versch, your comment about the not raising of the taxable value. And I still don't quite understand how, if the taxable value goes up, or doesn't go up, the point behind a special assessment is because of the property value, what is going up. That's what makes it a special assessment, because it's supposed to raise the value of your property in proportion to the amount being charged. Our road doesn't have a drainage problem, so I think we're just good with a reskinning. I just don't see our property values going up $14,000, $15,000 just because the road got repaved. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yeah, I encourage you to approach the podium, sir. I don't know how else I can say it.
I'll do it again. David Trevino, 37970 Point Rosa. I'll speak if you'll answer. You put a point on the floor that you did this a few years ago on your street. Now, I've listened to both sides of all this kind of stuff, and I'll ask the question. When you did this for your street, did you go through the scenario that we're going through, or did you take that bid right off the top and do it?
Yeah, I'm not going to give you an answer. I'm sorry. I will as soon as we close for public comment.
Unbelievable. Why do we stand up here and ask anything?
He's answering your questions, you just have to sit
I
down.
didn't. No, he didn't. And that's the point I gotta get across.
Nathan Hauser, 37971, just wanted to say that I would be in favor of the reskinning as well. The drainage is fine.
Thank you.
Ryan Toronto, 38016 Point Rosa. Those of you who are saying the drainage is fine, come down to my house when we have a decent rainstorm, then repeat that.
Thank you.
Jennifer Cookie, 37912 Point Rosa. I actually work for a landscape company, and we, along with a few of our neighbors, spent a very reasonable amount of money doing our own drainage, which is now going to be null and void. You're going to tear it all up. We, as citizens, took it upon our own initiative and did our own drainage. The drainage is fine. The road just needs to be reskimmed. I would be on board with chairing this one and starting a new petition to just mill and repave the road.
Thank you. Any other, here we go. And again, as I said before, I encourage anybody who thinks they might speak, feel free to come on up and utilize the on-deck chairs.
C. William Bardell, 30-year resident. The way the taxable value works is, if you sell your house, the next person that buys your house pays that. Your assessed value can only go up 5% or the rate of inflation, whichever is less. So if the inflation is 3%, 2.7, your assessed value can go up 2.7. If inflation is 7.5%, like after COVID, when the whole country got shut down and then everybody went back to work, and inflation was 7.5% for a year or whatever, your assessed value can only go up 5%, cannot go up 7.5%. But when you sell, if and when you do sell your house, having a new road will make your house worth more money. So the next person who buys your house will have to pay the higher taxes, not you. So, but anyway, as far as the skin idea, because I thought long and hard about the skin, our potholes are so deep, and I'm pretty sure that they're not going to grind down that deep into the asphalt to dig up and create that base as they would with a skin. I'm not seeing that. I believe a skin, they only dig down like 3 inches, maybe 2 or 3 inches. Our potholes are deep, and we got alligator cracks all over the place. Another thing with this road repair, we get top priority as far as the maintenance of our street. So if you go down and look at some of the other streets north of us and see how those have been maintained since they got a road assessment, they've been keeping up with them pretty good. So we have when we get a road crush and resurface with the new 4 inches and they use our road as a base and grind it up, we have a high priority with the Department of Roads to repair our street. And as far as drainage problems go, in front of my house, I get 4 inches of water when we get monsoon rains. I would say the whole street looks like a river or canal. So I see no street at all. And now it may not stay like that for a long time, but it will stay like that for at least 3-4 hours. So there is definitely a drainage problem. So when they do the crush and relayer surface 4 inches, they bow it out. So it's convex. So it's a slight bow out in the center. So the rain water drains off to the side. And so your road doesn't flood. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your work.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Seeing no other public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment. Before we take a vote, I'll do like I've been doing for 16 years and try to answer questions the best I can. Again, I can't state it enough. You can call me, you can come see me, I'll come see you, we can have a coffee together. If we want to engage in a back and forth, this meeting, we're in a fishbowl. Our job is to do what we're assigned to do on the agenda, and we allow the public to observe and to comment, and we do our best. But it is not a back and forth or conversational meeting. Someone said, we'd love you to table and recollect the signatures. So the best parallel, and I'm asking for those of you that feel that way, to put yourself in our shoes. After an election, folks say, well, I wish we could vote again. I might change my mind. This isn't a vote, as it were, but this is a process where people go out, they go door to door, they collect signatures. Anybody who signed that is signing a petition that said on there, your share is 13,000. I don't decide whether you should sign it or not, but if you do sign it, you bring it to the clerk's office. They certify those signatures. They have a process they go through. Certainly, I'm not going to speak statistically, but in my time in local government, we've certainly had people who've signed a petition that the clerk's office has rejected because they say that this is not the right signature. This person can come in and sign, but this is not a valid signature for this person based on the records we have. So we do certify those signatures, and we try to confirm, or do confirm, that it's a simple majority. Whether you like the current president or not, a simple majority of us elected that president. While I recognize that there's folks present that say, I wish we could just go back and just do the skin, the reality is we've already signed petitions. People have already said, this is what I want to do. So it's kind of like chaos for us to say, nah, we certified the signatures. A majority of folks want this done, but we're going to make them go and ask again. At this point, not only have signatures been collected, but we've spent, I don't know, close to 50 grand in engineering. We've applied for that grant. The grant's been approved. This project is out for bid. It's, we've been working on this, and this isn't the first time that we've collected signatures. I believe we've gone through the petition process at least another time, maybe twice, I don't know. Someone asked about the taxable value. What I was trying to explain is that it's a special assessment, right? So what we're saying is everybody on this street will benefit from this. And to make it simple and ignoring interest, let's say the assessment is $10,000. The state says you can't offer people the chance to spread a payment process out longer than the life. We certainly think the road is gonna be worth more than 10 years of new life. But historically, when we've done these, we spread it out 10 years. So you can pay us 10 grand up front, or you can pay us $1,000 a year plus interest. We put that on your tax bill because I don't want to be in a position where I'm going door to door asking folks for their $1,100 a year. And if you don't pay your taxes, you lose your property. But the point is that if your home was assessed at $300,000 and your taxable value was $150,000, it's not going up any more than the rate of inflation. The taxable value of your home doesn't change. The assessed value of your home, the assessor doesn't go back and say, well, now it's worth more. When you finally sell your home and it's uncapped, it's highly likely that the value of your home will be higher because a rough road versus a newly paved road is going to improve the resale value of your home. So the investment in your home is likely to increase. And our experience is that it increases more than the cost of repaving the road. But the actual taxes that you pay, mills times the thousands of dollars that your home is assessed for, we're not going to go back and say, oh, well, your home's worth more now because your road was repaved. So your tax bill could have the assessment on it because you choose not to pay it up front. Some people do pay it up front. Other people pay it over a period of time. Our experience is that probably there'll be a handful of homes that'll go up for sale, and those assessments will be paid off at a sale, and, you know, all different combinations. If you decide to spread it out, and 2 years into it, you decide you want to pay it off, you can come in and pay it off. We don't penalize you for that. The one gentleman asked, what did I do on my street? The exact same thing we're doing here on my street and on every street we've repaved going back to 2019 or 2020. We go through the same process. We figure out what that cost is. We tell everybody this is your cost. The actual amount they pay is the actual amount that's done. Sometimes it's slightly over, sometimes it's slightly under. If it's within a certain margin, the law says we can keep it because we have, in essence, a fund that allows us to use, you know, let's say, hypothetical. Let's say the amount that you paid, you know, the $13,000, whatever it is, let's say it comes out to $12,950. The state says you don't have to refund everybody $50. You can put that in a fund and you use that as seed money so that when the next people come in and they want to do it and you want to circulate petitions and you hire the engineer and they do a quick estimate and they charge us $5,000, we can use that as seed money for the next project. I think it's more than 5%. So let's just say that it's 13,000 and it comes in 1,300 less, that's 10% under. You get a check back for 1,300 if you prepaid. But the assessed amount is whatever the final one is. True for my home, true for everyone that we've done. Someone said that putting the skin on is only a 2 or 3 inch grind. We've been, to be fair, this new grant program from the county started last year. It came out kind of late. This is the first year that we've participated in it. So we haven't actually done this new project or new grant program that we're doing on Mallist, Shoreline, and Pontchartrain until this year. So I can't tell you, but my understanding is that they don't really do any grind. They just, we sometimes are frustrated when they go out and they do cold patch and they don't even pound it in. So in essence, what they do is they go back and they make more permanent repairs to any potholes, and they just pour asphalt over it. I don't even know that there is much of a grind on the road. So it is two completely different projects with two completely different lifespans. But again, to be fair, it is new this year. We haven't done it, so I don't have a lot to share on what the skin is. But I will say, and I think this is important, we applied for this grant on behalf of the residents of Point Rosa based on the fact that they asked for it and they circulated petitions. We applied for the other 3 roads based on the fact that those folks had come forward, and although they weren't in the petition phase, we saw an opportunity to say, are these good candidates for the road? We sent all of those that would be 4 grant applications that we prepared. I did 3 of them. I think the engineer did the 4th one for your road. this is a result of conversations with the chief highway engineer at the Macomb County Department of Roads. We've been talking about shoreline, as an example, for a long time because the only people who drive on your road are the people who live on your road or someone who's lost. But if you live near shoreline, you might take shoreline to go from, maybe the restaurant on the corner of Bridgeview to go to your subdivision. So we've tried to say, we feel like shoreline is a little bit different. Like we should get a little bit more funding. We should get a little more attention because it is a kind of a connecting road. So when this new grant program came out, I was specifically contacted by the chief highway engineer saying, we think shoreline is an excellent candidate for this skin project. And similarly, when we applied for the grant that we got for your road, it's the county saying, yes, we agree. We think this road is a good candidate for this project. So this isn't us arbitrarily deciding. This is us. It is a county road. It's not our road. We don't control it. I can't, if I said I want to repave it, I couldn't do it. If we had $1 billion, it's a county road. The county controls that road, and they dictate to us through the various grant programs which ones they think are valuable. Someone mentioned heightened maintenance. We have seen that the roads that have been repaved have received crack sealing, and those are the kind of preventative maintenance projects that, done early, maybe in the first few years of your road being repaved, probably pay off, maybe an additional 3-5 years of longevity over the lifespan of that road. Someone mentioned there's not a problem with drainage. That could be true today, but again, based on what the engineer found, there are substantial drainage improvements, which is what the county requires for this road to be repaved. So that was the best I could to answer the questions. I apologize if I missed any. Any board comment?
I just think it's important to, I think you touched on it, but I think it's important to clarify that when people say that, I'm not getting $14,000 or $13,000 worth of value, so it's not a good special assessment, that's not the way special assessments are calculated. It's not dollar for dollar value. It's that you're receiving benefit commensurate with the cost. And so the best way to think about it is when you replace your roof. Your house doesn't go up in value because you replaced your roof. People expect you to have a roof on your house. It sucks to spend the money on a roof, but that's built into the value of the home. And so living on a street that has a good paved road is in part built into the owning your home. If your road all of a sudden became gravel tomorrow, your homes would be worth less than they are today. So it's not a dollar for dollar where you're saying like, well, if I'm giving $14,000, so tomorrow my house can be worth $14,000 more. It's receiving value based on the cost of the project.
I got one other thing to add. A few years ago, we did an SAD for North Bloom and Cloverleaf Street. Half of that road is concrete, curb. The other half was carpet bombed, asphalt. I believe, and I might lean on you a little bit here.
Yeah.
Some of the people on North Bloom never had any construction workers in front of their house.
It's true.
Did they end up paying?
Yeah, so that was because it was, so in essence, that's my neighborhood. So what happened was the road, that particular section of land was developed or platted after World War II, and it was done in a phase 1, phase 2. Phase 1 ran from South River about maybe a third of the way down the land, and the roads were created with asphalt. Phase 2 was done later, and those roads were constructed with concrete. And so our home is on the concrete portion. And the road in front of my home was fine, but in order for me to leave my home, I'm driving on an asphalt road that was, as you said, it was pretty rough. And so what we did is we proposed something different. We proposed a 2-to-1 ratio, because I would love to see the folks on the asphalt portion pay for the road and fix the drainage, because it was destroyed. It would flood every time it rained, and the road was in horrible shape. But the cost per home was in the $20,000 to $25,000 range. So what we proposed as a neighborhood was that we would say that we're going to repair certain sections of concrete by saw cutting and replacing concrete, But the majority of the work was the asphalt. If you lived on the asphalt portion, you paid 2 shares. If you lived on the concrete portion, you paid 1 share. So there were a number of folks on the concrete portion that had no work performed in front of their home, and their assessment was roughly $7,000. Obviously not exact, I just don't remember exactly. And if you were on the asphalt portion, clearly you had a lot of work done, but overall, that cost, that assessment to those folks was $14,000. So the volume of work that was done clearly was excessive because a fraction of the cost was associated with that concrete repair. But again, we're doing our best to try to take the county and utilize the grant programs that the county have to try to get the work done. If a majority of the folks on your street said, we're not signing the petition, we just had that on the Huron Point subdivision probably 3 years ago. That's okay too. We prepare it, we get a cost estimate. If folks don't want to do it, no's the second best answer. It's not our position to tell you you need to repave your road, but if enough of you come to us and say, we want you to apply for a grant and repave our road, I feel like that's our job. We're supposed to follow through and try to get the money that we can to do that. But unfortunately, it's crappy in some ways because usually a little bit less than half of the folks on the street don't want it done and they're angry. And I'm sorry, I don't know that I'm in a position to tell you to say no just because some of you don't want it. We're trying to follow the simple majority. All right, we do have one more, so there's an opportunity for us to talk about Point Rosa a little bit in a few minutes, but at this point, we do have a motion by Mr. Brado, with support by Mr. Tominello to adopt resolution number 3. Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mr. Dominello?
Yes.
Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Ms. Brown is excused. Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Burkowski?
Yes. All right, item D3 from the clerk's office regarding resolution number 4 for Point Rosa.
Yes, sir. So tonight before us is resolution number 4, which sets the date for the second public hearing. We're proposing that be held on May 26th, which is not our next regular meeting, but the one immediately after that. And so that is, what we'll do is same process we did for this public hearing. We send out notices to residents by first-class mail, as well as publish a notice of the public hearing in the Journal twice prior to the meeting being held.
Okay, so resolution number 4 sets that up and calls for the second public hearing on May 26th. Any discussion, board members, or is there a motion?
Make that motion.
All right, is there support?
Support.
Is that Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got a motion by Mr. Olgiati with support by Mr. Batkins to pass resolution 4, which basically sets up the second public hearing 4 weeks from tonight. Actually, 4 weeks in a day.
4 weeks in a day, sir.
Because the 25th is when we would be meeting, but that's Memorial Day, and so we'll be meeting on a Tuesday. And then it requires the clerk to put out the mail. Again, we've got a motion, it's been supported. We are opening up the floor for public comment, and it can be about anything associated with Point Rosa. If there's anyone present wishes to address the board, ask questions, whatever that might be. Again, we would accept public comment at this time.
Ashley Hall, 37911 Point Rosa. And my question is at this next May 26th meeting, is that when it will actually, when we will actually find out if the petition, if the process is going forward? Or my other question is, will we get an update on how many signatures you still need, or do you have enough signatures, or when is that going to end? Is there a deadline where we need to have the signatures by for the proposed project to go through or not go through?
Thank you.
Nathan Helzer, 37971 Point Rosa. I'm just curious, what's going on with this may be out of turn, but what's going on with the seawall? I don't even care about the road, that's what I really want to get there.
And we do have that later on the agenda.
Yes, we do. Any other public comment? Seeing None. We'll close the floor for public comment. So you'd asked, the one resident asked about May 26th. So I might ask Adam to comment it, but specifically, the process is going forward. We've passed the point where we have
We have
sufficient.
52.57% of the signatures.
Right. Yeah, I can't speak to that. So in other words, the question was, if this parcel were to be included or omitted, what impact would that have? At this point, I couldn't say. And that's something we'll have to have a discussion, because obviously prior to today's, I don't know that answer. Yep, I don't know that answer. But as it stands right now, based on the district that we established, we have sufficient signatures. So there isn't some other deadline. At this point, we've literally made the decision to pay an engineering firm, tens of thousands of dollars. I know we approved it at some point, but a substantial amount of money to design those plans. Those plans have been given to the county. The county has incorporated those plans into the bid specification. And we anticipate at this point, before we meet again to discuss this on May 26th, the county should be opening bids and we should have a cost for this project. So at this point, I'm not aware of some other deadline or some other milestone that we have to cross in order for this project to move forward. Someone asked about Elm Lane, and it is a future agenda item, so I'm gonna just take a look here on the agenda. We gotta talk about Malice, Pontchartrain, and Shoreline before we're gonna talk about Elm Lane. Out of respect for the folks that might be here from Point Rosa,
Other than it's going to look exactly like this.
Yeah.
You're going to get a letter that says, come to a meeting, and it's going to be the same meeting that this is also being held at. So two birds, one stone, you'll already be here if you want to be here for it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, so one of the last agenda items is to talk about the Elm Lane Special Assessment District. So, throughout this process, and I think this dates back a pretty substantial amount of time, of course, there was a civil lawsuit between Elm Lane, Point Rosa, without rehashing every little detail. Bottom line was the court said, Point Rosa is responsible. They're the responsible party to repair the seawall. I think there's seawall, replace guardrail, and restore, whatever the 5-foot strip of grass is. The number that sticks in my head is about 540 feet of seawall. The attorney representing Point Rosa went out, got a bid for that. We've had an updated bid. So we've got a cost for that. The court decision also said that the cost for that should be split equally between the defendants, between the people on Elm Lane and the defendants on Point Rosa, on that one side of Point Rosa. So we've come up with that cost. We've worked with both attorneys. The township is not bound to be a part of that special assessment. That is a civil lawsuit. That would be like if your neighbor built his fence 2 feet on your yard. I'm not involved in that. You want to sue your neighbor because his fence is wrong, that's up to you. The reality is that the special assessment process, I'm trying to think of what the overall cost. It's a substantial amount of money. $350,000. Yeah, between $350,000, $400,000. The reality is the residents of Point Rosa don't want to be in a scenario where they're going to go door to door to everybody on Elm Lane and try to collect their share and so on and so forth, and to their very own neighbors. So what we said is we do have a court order from a circuit court judge. We feel pretty confident. We consulted with legal counsel, and we agreed that we're probably well-positioned to play that financial role, to do that special assessment. We can borrow the money cheaper than anyone else. We talked about how long that might be financed. And so we had an informal meeting here in March. And we worked with the attorneys to get some certain agreements in place. And so that is running independent, but somewhat parallel to this, whereby we're going to agree to say, all right, we'll bond for this. We're going to send everybody a notice. This is your share. I'm going by memory here, but I feel like there's like 32 parcels on Elm Lane that are affected, and there's 16 on Point Rosa, but I could be thinking of another one.
Nope,
But
that's right.
it was almost a 2-to-1 ratio. And I think we talked about a 15-year period, so if you don't want to pay that lump sum up front, that special assessment can last for a period of 15 years. You will go through that whole same process of notification, public hearing, whether you're on Elm Lane or whether you're on Point Rosa. Little caveat, we did agree with both the attorneys representing both sides. I don't think there's any question that this seawall is going to be replaced, short of appealing circuit court decision, which didn't happen, so the circuit court decision stands. So instead of making everybody collect signatures, we didn't go through a signature process here because we feel like the court has already spoken. This is happening. And Point Rosa does have a legal obligation per that court decision. The difference is, the law says that any municipality, like township, village, city, we can form a special assessment district and assess property. But the people have the right to oppose that if 20% of the people in a district sign a petition in opposition to an SAD, then the process stops and 51% of the people have to, or a petition has to be circulated with 51% of the people approving it. I wouldn't have been comfortable saying Point Rosa needs to repave the road. But knowing that we have a circuit court decision and it says it must happen, and both parties agree that there's probably some timeliness to it, because someday if that poor road collapses, the costs are going to be substantially higher. We made the decision, in conversation with our attorney as well as the plaintiffs and defense attorney, that we're willing to move forward with the process without collecting 51%. But if 20% of the folks affected did sign a petition saying they were opposed to it, and we explained that at the March meeting that we invited everybody to, it would stop the process. I don't think it would stop it forever. We don't have to do the SAD. You could argue amongst yourselves and go back to court, spend more money. I think the time for that has passed, and I think the goal is to get that done. So,
And I think part of the reason we stepped in is because we have that tool for financing beyond a one-year bill payment. Because if, say, Point Rosa, the HOA said, like, we're just gonna cut the check and you guys all owe us money now, you'll owe money now. Whereas this allowed the opportunity for that to be spread across taxes across 15 years is what we're looking at this point in time. Because the township makes no money on these. We're just trying to work on for the best outcome we can get for the people affected by this project.
yeah, it is a civil dispute. It's not a public matter. But we are in a position where we can borrow money cheaper than any of us. Myself, I couldn't borrow the money this cheap, and we can make sure that everybody pays by spreading it across their taxes over a period of 15 years, which we perceive, I'm shooting round numbers, but I think it's $600 a year if you're on Elm Lane. I think it's $1,200 a year if you're on Point Rosa. So, anywhere from $50 to $100 a month. Again, simple round numbers, but we're going to talk about that later. But out of respect for the folks that are here from Point Rosa that maybe not want to stay to the end of the agenda, that's the update I can give you. But again, and I encourage this, you can call the office, you can have a meeting at your home, you can invite me over for tea, whatever you want. I'm happy to share this anytime, homeowners association, whatever it is. So.
I'm sorry, is there a time frame though?
Yeah, so we're in that process now. We are passing a bond resolution later, which means that once that resolution is in place, we can start spending money on this. So in the long term, we're not in a position, the township doesn't think it's our position to loan roughly $400,000 to 48 residents. But in the short term, if the contractor working with Point Rosa wants to begin the work and get started with the process, that resolution allows us to start to spend money, recognizing that we might bond for it. But again, and this is important as well, when we do these SADs, and everybody has a share, we don't want to borrow more money than we need. We don't want to bond. So let's just say on Point Rosa, I don't know, I'm shooting from the hip. There's 24 folks that are going to be a part of this road SAD. Some of those people are in a position to prepay and they don't want to pay interest. And that's cool. I don't want to borrow more money than I need because we're just going to pay more interest. So once we get to a point where we have an idea what that cost is, we're sending you a bill giving you that chance before we bond, and if, let's just say, a third of you prepay, well, then we're only borrowing 2/3 of the money, so we borrow less money. We're gonna go through that same process with Point Rosa. So there'll be a point where we're gonna actually send everybody a bill for the road, send everybody a bill for the seawall. You can prepay it if you choose. If not, we're gonna borrow money on your behalf. Because we don't know how many of you will prepay, we typically add on a small percent to that to make sure that, because once we borrow it, we have to pay the interest. We don't wanna be in a losing situation. It's not fair to people on the other part of the township. But the timeline is ongoing. So once we pass this resolution, we could potentially begin to spend that money and start the project. Again, no, the road SAD at this point, no, is moving forward, so. And again, like I say, you guys can call me tomorrow, I can have a discussion with you, but I'm doing my best to be respectful, trying to honor the golden rule. If I was on the other side and I got questions, I respect that. All right, any other board comment? Hearing none, we've got a motion by Mr. Olgiati with support by Mr. Badkins to adopt resolution number 4. Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Brown is asked to be excused. Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkust?
Yes, thank you. Next on the agenda is item D4 regarding malice. Mr. Witt?
Yes, sir. So before us tonight, we have our resolution number 1 for the Malist Street Special Assessment District. Harrison Township recently applied for and received grant funding through the county's subdivision preservation program. This program is is designed to improve local subdivision roads and consists of a simple asphalt overlay to improve the drivable surface with no drainage improvements at all. The program covers 75% of the cost, with the remaining 25% coming from the SAD. Resolution number 1 basically establishes the district for us. This is a little bit different than other special assessments we talked about lately, in that we are not collecting signatures at this point in the process to be able to move forward with this. We have had we did have informal meetings with these property owners to discuss the road situation with them, to give them, idea of cost and explanation. Explain that we weren't looking to go for signatures, that we would, but, everyone does ask, how do you stop this? And we just discussed the 20% rule as well. Right now, we'd be just looking to adopt resolution number 1, which basically tentatively establishes the special assessment district. And that's the same for this one, Malist, the next one, Pontchartrain, and the one after that, Shoreline. So
they're all three very similar.
All three are going to be very similar, similar structure. So I don't want to repeat myself unnecessarily, but again, that's what we have before us tonight.
If you understand D4 and D5, you'll understand D6, D7, D8, and D9.
Correct.
So we're just repeating the same thing, and again, we did hold informal meetings, and I can't think of a person that's approached us on any of these 3 roads saying that they're opposed to moving forward.
No, I had somebody ask me if they could cut the check that day, so.
Yes, that's right. So we've got a request, item D4. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 1?
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support?
Support.
Got a motion by Mr. Badkins with support by Mr. Brado to adopt resolution 1 regarding Malist Street. Any discussion, board members? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Brown is excused. Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkust?
Yes. All right, next is item D4, resolution number 2 for Malist. Mr. Witt?
Yes, and so resolution number 2 for this one, as well as the other 2 roads we're going to be discussing tonight, sets the date for the first public hearing, which is known as the public hearing of necessity. We're looking to hold that at our Tuesday, May 26, 2026 regular board meeting. As I mentioned before, residents will be provided notice by first-class mailing, as well as 2 published notices in the paper. And the purpose of the public hearing is to hear objections to the project, as well as to preserve an individual's opportunity to protest the assessment to the state tax tribunal.
All right, discussion, board members, or is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right, is there support? Support. Okay, we've got a motion by Mr. Tominello with support by Mr. Olgiati to adopt resolution number 2 regarding Malice Street. Any discussion, board members? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Backens?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Brown is excused. Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkast?
Yes. All right, next is this, I skipped one there. Pontchartrain?
Yep. And so again, this is resolution number 1 for Pontchartrain. As we discussed, this basically tentatively creates the special assessment district.
All right, is there a motion to adopt resolution number 1?
Make that motion.
All right, is there support?
Support.
Mr. Badkins?
Yes.
All right, discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Backens?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Brown is excused. Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkast?
Yes. All right, item D7, resolution number 2 for
And ag-
Pontchartrain.
And again, this is setting that public hearing number 1 for Tuesday, May 26th, at our regular board meeting. We will send out appropriate notices.
Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 2?
I'll make that motion.
Is there support?
Support.
Got a motion by Mr. Badkins with support by Mr. Olgiati. Discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Backens?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Brown is excused. Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkast?
Yes. Thank you, board. We move on to the same thing for shoreline, item D8, resolution number 1.
Yes, unless there's any questions, it's
Same as
same as the other one.
Last 2 resolution number 1s. Is there a motion
I'll make
to
the
adopt? All right, is there support?
Support the motion.
Okay, we got a motion by Mr. Tominello with support by Mr. Olgiati. Discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Backens?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Brown is excused. Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkast?
Yes. Finally, D9, which would be resolution number 2 for shoreline.
And again, this is setting that first public hearing date for our Tuesday, May 26th regular board meeting.
Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 2?
I'll make that motion.
Is there support?
Support.
Got a motion by Mr. Badkins with support by Mr. Brado. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Backens?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Brown is excused. Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkast?
Yes. All right, we're going to get crazy and change it up here with item D10. It's resolution number 1, but it is for a different project. Mr. Witt.
So as we discussed earlier on an agenda item, the Macomb County Circuit Court issued a decision regarding the replacement of the seawall and guardrail as well as restoration work on Elm Lane. The court ordered that 540 feet of seawall was to be replaced, the guardrail was to be replaced, and that 5-foot strip of land was to be restored after the work. The cost of the work is divided as follows: 50% to the lot owners at the west side of Point Rosa and 50% by the lot owners of Elm Lane. Harrison Township has been asked by the parties involved in this lawsuit to help establish a special assessment district in order to finance this work. Just so the board's aware, the total cost of the project is estimated at $438,281.18 based on a current quote from the contractor, a little bit of a contingency fund, as well as administrative costs for the township that cover the cost of bonding, the cost of mailing, cost of notices, all that kind of stuff. And so Point Rosa homes that are affected, as the supervisor said, there's 16 on Point Rosa. They're going to be paying $13,696.29 per lot. We're looking in discussions with myself, the supervisor, and the treasurer, and our bond counsel and our financial representative that we work with for bonding projects. We're looking at something more along the lines of a 15% payback for this because
15 years.
Or 15 years. I'm sorry, 15 years payback for this project because the life of a seawall is usually a little bit longer than you might expect from a road. The wear and tear is a little bit different. So the end up estimated cost for the Point Rosa homes per year over those 15 years at an estimated 5% interest rate is just under $1,300, $1,299.84. And for the Elm Lane homeowners, it works out to a per parcel cost of $6,848.14 total, or an annual assessment of $649.92. Again, that's based on an estimated interest rate and is subject to however whatever the rate is when we sell the bond.
And we had initially anticipated, I think when we had our informal meeting in March, we had put in a 10% contingency. Just as time has gone on, the estimate from the contractor that Point Rosa wishes to use is dated January. And with commodity issues, I think we added an additional, I had emailed both attorneys, and I had proposed that we might add an additional 3% contingency. Again, the amount that we're paying is the actual amount, but that's why the numbers from the February mailing until the numbers Mr. Witt quoted today, it's because we added 3% more in contingency.
And I just wanted to say that because of it being 15 years, just as any other bond, payment is more or less like a simple interest loan. So if you want to take the first 4 years and make payments and pay it off, you just pay off the balance. There's no penalty.
And again, this is not something that, as we discussed earlier, we have not collected signatures for, or not have received signatures for. We don't collect signatures. So residents that are opposed to it are free to collect 20% of signatures. That would stop the project until we receive over 50% of the lot owners signing in favor.
Okay. Any discussion, questions, or is there a motion to adopt resolution number 1?
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support? We've got some motion by Mr. Badkins with support by Mr. Tominello. Discussion, board members. Hearing none, we'll open the floor for public comment.
Josh Hall, 37911 Point Rosa. Just making comment again, I do appreciate what the efforts to try to move forward and make strides on this seawall. My only areas that I would like to have addressed is when we're thinking about the special assessment district, and as opposed to just using this to settle the lawsuit that was between parties, not against the parcels and the property. There are some of us that were not involved in the lawsuit, were never drug into it, that are now going to wind up paying the repercussions. I would still be okay with it if we fix the seawall properly. It might need to go a little bit further. Where that 590 feet is, I would ask that you guys look into maybe going an extra 100, 200 feet so we don't have this problem again in another 10 to 15 years. And then as far as the special assessment district goes, not just the parcels in the lawsuit, if you go through the Point Rosa 1 plat map, it very clearly says that, and the channels as shown on said plat are hereby dedicated to the use of the lot owners. I would take that meaning that both sides of the street have easement, title deeded easement, and therefore would raise their property values as well. That's all, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Seeing no other public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment and move back to board comment. So, in response to the residents' observation, I might say that at least in some part, I began with the same thought when we saw this and said, okay, it says that, it's got to be split 50-50. Work needs to be done, needs to be split 50-50. Ironically, this is so interesting to talk about right after the Point Rosa Road, because no, it's a little bit different, but let me explain. Let's say that you and I both live on Point Rosa and I signed the petition and you said, no, I don't want to sign the petition. That means you were opposed to repaving the road, I was in favor. But once that SAD moves forward, we just went from being on opposite teams to on the same team. We want the best road possible, right? You might say, I hate it because I'm gonna have to pay this money, but I'll be darned if I want them to do a crappy job, and on that, we're on the same team. This SAD is unique in the sense, the seawall SAD, because I feel like if I lived on Elm Lane, I'd want the kind of seawall that might be along the St. Clair River. And if I lived on Point Rosa, I might want to see if they can make it out of recycled aluminum foil. It'd be a lot cheaper. And so now we're in a situation where who decides what caliber of seawall construction is chosen? So I had initially at that time proposed that Harrison Township, if we're going to be involved in an SAD, we might hire a civil engineer, have them come out and say, this is what should be done. I was responded to rather quickly by the Point Rosa attorney who said, well, I appreciate your position, Mr. Verkest, The court order said Point Rosa shall perform the work, and the cost shall be split this way. So it's really not up to you or Harrison Township what to do. We've decided here's how we want to do it. I kind of stepped back a little bit and I looked at the attorney representing Elm Lane, and that attorney on behalf of their clients presumably said, well, they wish that the way it was done was different. They were satisfied and comfortable with the work. The scope of work has been kind of defined by circuit court action. So I'm not in a position to say I want more work done, I want less work done. We are merely acting as, for lack of a better word, somewhat of a fiduciary in this. And frankly, and this was something that I insisted on after talking to the attorney, we got here through litigation. Litigation on this subject dates back to the 1970s. Multiple rounds of litigation. And so common sense tells you this could result in future litigation. So I said, I'm not doing an SAD until everybody signs an agreement that should Elm Lane or Point Rosa sue the other one, and I'm sucked into it. It isn't fair for me to ask Dean, who lives in another part of the township, to pay legal fees when we're just trying to step in and help with an SAD. So if either party wants to sue the other party, there's rights for that, but if I ask that fellow to represent us, that cost is gonna be split amongst everybody in the district, because it's not fair that we should spend money if there is some civil litigation. And that's our position. So the work that's done, the scope of work has been decided by Point Rosa. If folks at Elm Lane disagree, they would have to pursue civil litigation. We're not gonna change that scope of work or how much seawall or whatever it is. Yeah. Yep, so, yeah. Yeah, we're not, again, I'm doing my best to help. I can talk to you tomorrow, I can talk to you the next day, but we did take public comment. I did my best to answer. The both sides of the street, again, this is something that's up to the attorneys, that's up to, a circuit court judge said these, I mean, it's literally named persons in there. So for me to say, I think the guy across the street should be a part of this, circuit court judges are here, township supervisors are down here, so I'm just doing what we can to try to help with the financial part. If someone thinks someone else should pay, that's between them and a circuit court judge. All right, any other board comments? Hearing none, we've got a motion by Mr. Badkins with support by Mr. Tominello to adopt resolution number 1 for Elm Lane seawall. Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Backens?
Yes.
Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Brown is excused. Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkast?
Yes. Thank you, board. D11 follows up on that, resolution number 2, Mr. Witt.
And again, other than what we're doing, the end result is the same. May 26th, regular board meeting, we'd be holding our first public hearing on this project. Again, we'll send notice by first-class mail as well as publish 2 notices in the paper. And the purpose of the public hearing is to hear objections to and against the project, or hear either for or against the project, as well as preserve the individual's right to protest the assessment to the state tax tribunal.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we got a motion by Mr. Tominello to adopt resolution number 2. Is there support?
Support.
Motion with support by Mr. Brado. Discussion, board members. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mr. Backens?
Yes.
Ms. Brown is excused. Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkast?
Yes. Thank you, board. We did add item D12. We have definitely adopted resolutions like this in the past, but considering that we are adopting it, I think there's value in talking, at least.
I can talk.
So maybe just read the first part, like, really kind of summarizes what we're doing.
Sure. Just real simply, this is a resolution that provides our notice of intent to cover the cost of several of our special assessment districts through bonding. This is the first step in the process that allows us to sell bonds to finance the cost of these projects and allows us to be able to reimburse the township from the bond proceeds for any costs that are incurred prior to the issuance of the bonds. And so that's the simple version. Again, we are covering the Lakeshore Archer Canal sediment removal with this. seawall installation for Elm Lane, as well as the road project for Point Rosa. And so those are what's covered under this, and basically just says like, hey, township's planning on doing this. We're gonna get to a point down the road where we do actually issue bonds, but this is just that first step that we're gonna do that process.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Adopt that resolution. Okay, motion by Mr. Tominello. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Badkins. Discussion, board members?
Just want to say, we, in our past bond sales, we've worked with a different firm, but we're able now to work with Kirk and Huth. They have bond counsel in-house, so again, this is proceeding through their office, so they'll be our bond counsel for this bond sale, and hopefully all our bond sales moving forward. Just so the board is aware,
Yeah.
and we will be using MFCI again as our financial advisor. That's who's done that work in the past, so.
Those costs are rolled into these assessments. But to be fair, we had employed the services of a particular attorney for bond counsel. That attorney actually became a part of Mr. Huth's firm, and unfortunately, in recent days, he's passed away. But we did have the continuity, basically utilizing the same person. So, kind of an FYI for the board. Any other discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Brown is excused. Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Witt, yes. Mr. Verkest?
Yes. All right, that.
May I just thank the board? Thank you, board, for passing that resolution, and we, at our firm, do appreciate all the years of service from John Axe to the municipal community.
Yeah,
His passing will definitely be missed.
yeah, he was a legend.
He was a legend.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this point, we move on to item E, which is public comment. So at this point, we open up the floor for public comment. It can be about any subject that you like. We just ask that you try to limit that to 5 minutes in length.
C. William Bardell, 29-year resident, clean cut, do-gooder boy next door, clean up, fix up, people helping people. Just want to remind everyone, please check out Save Lake St. Clair on Facebook. There's a little bit of reading material there for you to look at, read, keep up to date on everything that's going on. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Oh, sorry.
At first, I came in here to talk about my family issues. As I sat and just listened to what everybody had to say. In my years of living, I just never saw where the people have to keep paying for just the type of things that the PIP program, far as the auto insurance, they giving money to that. Everything is coming from, every dollar is coming from the people. The lottery. What if you have people here that can't afford to do, to make the payments? Is there anything else that could be done? Because I do drive Shoreline. I drive Shoreline every day. That's horrible. It's all type of safety hazards over there. And one being 6:30 in the morning in the wintertime. It's a lot of kids out there. There's no lighting. So I have to grip my wheel and look really hard to make sure a child is safe. The only thing that I hear from rooms is give me, give me, give me. Let me take. I think everybody is given enough far as the people and the community. So I just feel like I'm just tired of this. When I say I done cried at least 3 days for my own problems, from just everybody taking, just no humanity and just greed. So I just wanted to comment, it gotta be a better way. And it gotta be a way that y'all can help reach out to some people, especially to support Shoreline's roads, because that's crazy. You can break your teeth just driving down their street. It got to be something y'all could do for the people instead of always taking from the people. Find a way to let the people be okay, because I know I'm tired. I know I'm exhausted. So I just wanted to share that. It gets sickening to every place I look. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Let me go up here. Let me charge here. Everything is so high now. Gimme, gimme. While a certain part of the people, they living off the money. But while other people working hard to pay. So I just, wanted to share that today.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing no other public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment and move back to board comment. In terms of giving, we don't collect anything, so I don't really have any money to give. This isn't a city, it's a township. The millage rates are substantially lower in townships. We don't have a general fund millage. We collect for police and fire. We provide police and fire services. Matter of fact, we contract for police with Macomb County. We don't even have our own police department. We don't have responsibility for roads. We don't collect any money for roads. Cities receive their share of PA 51 funds collected by gas tax. Townships do not. Roads are county responsibilities. And that's not unique to Harrison Township. That's true for all 1,240 townships in the state of Michigan. Some townships do have a road millage, which allows them to be able to do repairs and help fund the roads. This board, in a different form, in 2014, put a road millage question on the ballot for 1.25 mils. It was narrowly defeated. Since that time, we've probably done more than a dozen roads, I'm sure probably closer to 24 roads, local roads through special assessment districts. And every time we do an SAD, that's 20 to 50 people who aren't going to vote for a road millage because they just decided to pay for their own millage. I will say, and I understand SADs are not always popular with everyone, but if I pay $1 in federal tax, it might end up in Maryland. If I pay $1 in state tax, it could end up in Traverse City. I could pay $1 in county tax and it could end up in Armada Township. But if I pay $1 for an SAD on my road, not only does the dollar stay on my road, but we're able to leverage that dollar to get $1 of the money that you've already sent to the state that flowed back to the county, back to your road. So I recognize not everybody likes SADs, but I feel like it is the ultimate in local control. You're not taking money from your neighbor, but you're also not sending money to another municipality where you end up being a donor. Any other board comment? Hearing none, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there support?
Support.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, board.